We welcome in Ross Tucker, the former NFL offensive lineman, host of Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and he'll be working for Westwood 1. He'll be working the sidelines for the AFC title game. Kickoff will be 6:40 Eastern on Sunday. Ross, do we know if this is a concussion with Patrick Mahomes?
It evidently, Dan, is not a concussion. Having watched it a couple times, I think that he had momentary trauma to the carotid sinus area where the vagus nerve and baroreceptors are located. And I think what happened was really a vasovagal reaction.
You reading something?
That's I read that this morning from Dr. David Chow. The 20 years he was the Chargers team doctor. He doesn't think Mahomes actually had a concussion. He thinks basically, you ever see like a martial artist or a cop or whatever hit someone like here? He thinks that when Mack Wilson came up with his right arm and hit him, he said in 20 years he never saw it in football, but based on the different reports that are leaking out and the video, that's what he believes happened, and he doesn't think Mahomes will have any problem getting cleared because he doesn't think he really had a concussion.
But also, he has to go through the concussion protocol. How long does it take you to go through the protocol? I mean, you can say, look, I don't have a concussion, but if you're in the concussion protocol, you have to go through the required steps, don't you?
Yeah, and one of them is a full practice. So I don't think we will hear that he is cleared until Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday morning, because they'll probably take it easy with him today. Maybe he does a full practice Thursday. Then he meets with the independent neurologist. And I know, Dan, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I understand that. But they really do have independent neurologists. They're not affiliated with the team. And those people have to clear them, and they do that for a reason. They want to make sure there's somebody who's not affiliated with the team because there'd be a heck of a lot of pressure on that team doctor if that's who was in charge. It's really out of everybody's hands other than that independent neurologist at this point.
Can you hide a concussion nowadays?
Yeah, I think you can. You can't hide what happened to Mahomes.
Yeah.
Where he obviously stumbled to his feet. And I actually think, Dan, even if whatever Dr. Chow said, even if he's cleared, I got to think, like I can just picture my mom, right, Dan, saying, that boy should not be able to play football. I saw him wobbly on his feet last Sunday. He should not be able to play. Like I can just picture a bunch of people, my mom included, believing after what they saw last Sunday that young man should not be able to play tackle football a week later. I don't have a problem with it as long as the independent neurologist clears them. But to your point, yeah, I mean, look, I had at least 3 concussions as a player, Dan, never diagnosed, never said anything about it. Really, back then, unless you were knocked out, and this is only 2001 and 2008, but unless you were knocked out or you said something, there really was no way for them to know. I remember one time sitting on the bench and one of the practice squad offensive line was like, Tuck, are you okay? And I was kind of in a fog there for good 3 or 4 minutes. Drew Bledsoe had thrown an interception. Like a total idiot, I tried to make the tackle, and Roosevelt Colvin blindsided me. The first thing that hit the ground was the back of my head. And I was kind of in a daze for a good 3 or 4 minutes. But other than the one practice squad lineman who saw me get killed, he was the only person that even talked to me about it.
What if Mahomes can't play? What are their chances against Buffalo?
Well, the only thing I would say is two factors in that. Number one, Henny played really well. I mean, Henny did a lot of really positive things. He had one terrible interception. I have no idea what was going on there, but he played pretty well. The other thing is sometimes when there's a backup quarterback like that, I feel like, number one, the other guys rally around him and play better. And number two, whether it's conscious or subconscious, it just seems like sometimes the other side, I don't know. I don't want to say they let up, but it's like, okay, it's not Mahomes. It changes things a little bit. I will say this though, Dan, Chad Henne's from my small hometown, Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. He went to Wilson High School. I've known him for a while. I used to work out with his dad. And you know the way it is. I'm sure this happens to you all the time, Dan, where people tell you their kids are, oh, let me tell you about my son. He's going to be a good athlete. I remember working out with Chad Henne's dad when I was in college. He's like, yeah, I think my son's going to be pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he's going to be great. Turns out he started 4 years for one of the top 10 schools in Pennsylvania and then 4 years at Michigan. Now he's in his 13th year in the NFL. So small world.
We're talking to Ross Tucker, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. He'll be on the sidelines, the AFC title game with Westwood 1. How important is this game to Tom Brady?
To his legacy, you mean?
Well, I brought this up that his age, a year removed from the Patriots, you just beat Breeze. If you would happen to beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau when Rodgers is playing at an all-time level, he's your MVP. I'm not even getting to the Super Bowl yet. But I don't know if I'm overstating how big of a game this is for Brady to do what he's doing if you factor in the other elements here of no longer with the Patriots, first year with Tampa Bay, age 43, on the road, and you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. Am I overstating it?
No, I don't think you are. I mean, look, the only arguments people have left against Brady, right, is that it was all Belichick and coaching and that he's a system quarterback, blah, 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 which both are laughable, but whatever. If he beats Aaron Rodgers, the MVP, at Lambeau to go to a 10th Super Bowl with a new team, even those morons will have to shut up at this point, right? I mean, even those people won't be able to say it. But to be honest with you, Dan, I feel like he's kind of already done it. I mean, the Patriots had a 5-game deficit from 2019 to this year. The Bucs had a 4-game improvement. And I know the rosters aren't totally the same, but let's be honest. He's the major reason for that. And now to win 2 more playoff games to get to a 14th conference championship game. I mean, think about this. He's been to 14 conference championship games in the 19 years he's been a starting quarterback. That's 74%. It's absolutely insane. And frankly, Dan, for all the people with the system quarterback argument or the Belichick argument, well, I guess Brady brought the system to Tampa and New England stopped with the system. I don't know. Or for the Belichick thing, do you realize Belichick has 1 playoff win in the 8 years that Tom Brady was not his starting quarterback? I mean, that's a decent sample size now for Belichick without him.
By the way, Phillip Rivers announced his retirement earlier this morning. We were debating. I guess the debate is first ballot Hall of Famer. What do you think?
I don't think he will be. No, I don't think he will be because, number one, I think Drew Brees would be ahead of him if Drew Brees retires as expected. So as far as a first ballot guy.
And Roethlisberger, if he happened to retire.
Correct. And not only that, I don't think Eli Manning necessarily will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He might not. So it might be, what would that be? Year 2 or year 2 for Eli Manning. And there's not a good argument for Rivers over Eli Manning. There's just not. So I don't think Rivers I think he eventually gets in, sort of like Dan Fouts did, but I don't think Rivers is a first ballot Hall of Famer. No, I don't think he will be.
But if I said you could have Ben, Rivers, or Eli as your quarterback for a decade?
Ben won for sure. Those next 2 guys are tough. Those next 2 guys are really, really tough. I think I feel like we're a little bit skewed based on how the last 5 years went for Rivers and Eli. If we're talking about their first 10 years or 10 years in the prime of their career, prime, I'd probably go Eli because, I think people forget Rivers, like his first few years, Dan, they were loaded. I mean, they were loaded. They were, Antonio Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson, the O-line was awesome. Sean Merriman, and they were loaded, and for whatever reason, he wasn't able to get it done to get to a Super Bowl and win it. Eli did it twice. Hard to take that away from him.
I think we got some really interesting offseason situations, obviously with Deshaun Watson there, but the Saints quarterbacking situation, the Colts quarterbacking situation, what's going on with the Eagles, what's going on with the Bears. Dak Prescott coming back with the Cowboys, Jimmy Garoppolo's future in San Francisco. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. What the Patriots are going to do. The number one quarterbacking situation that you would love to have an answer to right now is what? Aside from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I was going to say Watson because I feel like he's the domino that everything else comes off of. I'd love to know about New England, but just knowing them, Dan, and what they look at in terms of value, I think that they'll kind of wait it out. I think that they'll kind of see what happens with these other things with Jameis Winston and other places before they pounce. I guess I'll say Indy, and I'll say Indy because I feel like Philadelphia is directly related to it because there's a lot of people out there that seem to think the Colts want to get Carson Wentz to reunite him with Frank Reich. And I saw reports this morning that that's what Carson Wentz supposedly wants. Again, that's just a report, but that's what Wentz supposedly wants. So I think probably the Colts, because they're a playoff team, they're very good, and they might go and potentially get the quarterback from the Eagles, which then I guess means Hurts would be the guy in Philadelphia.
Have fun this weekend. Safe travels. Always great to talk to you. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm sideline duty, Dan, but I'm not actually allowed on the sideline. So I think I might be getting paid to sit in the third row and have a beer and a hot dog. Hopefully. We'll find out.
Thank you, Ross. Ross Tucker, football podcast. He'll be on the sidelines for Westwood One Radio, where you can't be on the sidelines because you have to be in the stands. All these reporters, sideline reporters, aren't on the sidelines when they report.